All right.
Nice.
Let's give this a little test.
Yeah, let's see. All right. Well, we'll assume that it's working, right? We assume that it's probably live on the various channels. But for those that are watching this later, welcome to the John Schaefer Health Podcast, the first one ever with our boy John, the man, the myth, the legend that we all watch and love on various channels: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, at John Schaefer Health. For those of you that don't follow him, give him a follow. I'm sort of the host, Nate Dennett, avid follower and friend of John, and excited to be here to talk to you today, man. Glad we
Yes.
got this going.
It's been a long time coming.
I know.
Long time coming. Yeah, man. So we are going to we're going to use this new platform for a wider audience. One of my favorite things on the planet to do is learn in my car, and so that was the big thing for us. Is like we got to get some audio going. We're covering all these other forms of content. Most of it's short form, and I know a lot of people, ourselves included, love to take deeper dives. So this is why we're doing what we're doing, and really, really, really excited to kick this thing off.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think one of the things that I notice is that you obviously get a lot of traction on all of the content that you post, and people are just, the more of you that we can get, the better. So the more of the insight that you can provide, I think the better. So I think this is going to be great. Hopefully, we'll keep learning from everyone's questions and all that stuff. We can make this super valuable, but look forward to diving into the details. Longer than 90 seconds or 60 seconds that's available on all of the social medias, and really we can understand the science and the backing behind a lot of why all of this stuff works.
Yes, absolutely. So Nate, you are yourself on a quest at the moment. So why don't you share a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish? I think that will resonate a lot with the listening.
For sure. So I'm a part of the dad group. So I got 2 kids, and really limited time to work out and eat healthy. So back a couple years ago, my wife and I really wanted to put a focus on our health and wellness. And we actually met, or that's when I started working with you, was a little like halfway through that journey. I had kind of struggled. I'd been up to like 255. Previous to that, I had sort of been involved in trying to get to a bodybuilding level of physique, which is super intense. Then I injured my back the New Year's Eve day of December 2019. And then, so heavy lifting, powerlifting was really in my wheelhouse, and I needed to sort of switch it up. And when you and I crossed paths, I was at sort of the point where nothing was really working for me, and I was staying at the same weight. I wasn't really seeing any improvements on like in the mirror, because I know that it's not always about the scale. So you and I got connected, and thankfully I've been down. Like the process works for me. It's been hugely successful for me. I started at 255. I'm down now. I'm at like I'm 255. I started, and I'm down to 235. My ideal weight, just for context, I'm 6'4". It's probably realistically 225, because I have a decent amount of muscle on my frame. But that's not a brag. That's just what it is.
Yep.
But yeah, so my journey has been longer than I anticipated, or longer than I wanted it to be, because I remember back in my 20s, I used to be able to drop like 10 pounds in an afternoon. But what I found most interesting, or the easiest for me, obviously the fasting framework is super easy. I used to be a big breakfast guy. I used to eat like five eggs in the morning and 2 pieces of huge Ezekiel bread toast and peanut butter and all the nine. And so that switch, I thought I was going to be a lot worse, but now it's totally normal for me to go until 2 p.m. without eating. And it's been great. And I've been able to just cut down, not only on the scale, but I can totally see a difference from my physique in the mirror, which has been really the advantage from my perspective. So continuing on, trying to find 10, 20 minutes every day to get some walk or some steps in, and then following your Building with Dumbbells program online. And I love the workouts, and so far it's been awesome. And it's definitely something that I see as sustainable, not a fad or the yo-yo. So it's awesome.
Right. That is the name of the game, man. Yeah, no, you can see it in your face, which is what we're saying now. But that's exciting, man. And that is that is exactly what we're after. It's like, what didn't work in the past, and that's been I think a lot of the draw online is that everybody's tried so many different things, and they have not stuck for various reasons. The number one reason is just simply not sustainable. So I think, speaking in real world, I know you and I have shared a couple mezcals together, and that type of way of looking, it's not all or none. and
Hmm.
that is what we specialize in here with everything we do,
Yep.
online and here in LA. So
And one thing that I think is super important, and I want you to kind of expand on it if you can, is many people, or myself included, and it's still a habit I find myself in, is that I have one bad meal, or I was mentally pissed off one day when I got a coffee to go from someplace and they put cream in it.
mhm.
And aside from the cream and like the dirty fast or whatever, but if you have a misstep, it's really like the missteps are not that they're little blips on the radar as opposed to longer term like 80-20 rule. And I'm curious for the people that are freaking out because they had a couple drinks and they had wings one night with their friends and they're like, oh damn, my whole weekend is ruined. What is that like? What do you tell that type of consumer or the people that have a normal life and they want to have a normal social life?
Sure. Yeah. So that is the biggest misconception when it comes to fat loss or general fitness and really mental wellness in general, because the amount of stress that people carry around this stuff, around fat loss and around image perception and how they feel and energy is unbelievable. And you don't really realize how much stress you are carrying until you get this piece figured out. I
Hmm.
didn't realize for years how much time and mental energy I spent on obsessing about being perfect or things like that. Of a friend comes to town on a Wednesday and wants to go get pizza, and I kind of resisted at first, and then I have the pizza and then I feel like I failed, and then I'm going to restart on Monday. And then it was just this yo-yo for years for me. My entire family's like 20, 30 pounds overweight naturally. Like, this is not my natural state. A lot of trainers
Yeah.
become trainers because they were born with a six pack, and then let me go talk to people about how to get a six pack. That's
Yeah.
not me. And so I had many, many years of that up and down. And so one of the key teachings and key understandings, which should put a lot of people's mind at ease, is that all progress is governed by the law of averages,
Hmm.
right? And so what that means is, it's not, people think in terms of daily views when it comes to fat loss and fitness, and success with this in general. Really, it's more of a 30-day view, and maybe even larger than that. But 30 days, everybody understands a month. That's really how we want to look at it. And so the easy math point I use to illustrate that is that, let's say your daily caloric limit, for simplicity's sake, was 2,000 calories a day, right? It's really more like your caloric limit is 60,000 calories per month, right? 2,000 calories, 30 days, 60,000 calories a month. If you come in under 60,000 calories at the end of the month, chances are you're going to be in a better place. And
Right.
certainly if you're able to get to 55 or 50,000 calories, whatever it is, by creating calorie deficits, you're
Hmm.
going to be in a better place. So understanding this, because that really is how it works. No single meal, no single day is ever going to make or break your fat loss.
Yeah.
So understanding that should alleviate a lot of that pressure. You don't have to be perfect. And in fact, once you get that under your belt and you start understanding that, and then we start talking about the principles of forward thinking. I don't want to get too far ahead, but when we start to understand all that, it really puts your mind at ease, and it allows you to then have fun with it, because you
Hmm.
can then plan on days like the weekends for most of us, right? Like, after this, the wife and we're going to do a happy hour. It's real
Nice.
world. And today might be an over calorie day. That's okay, because during the week we're pretty dialed in. And then even on the weekends, we kind of pick our spots. And so understanding that it's not all or none, and that's actually not how it works. This is not just like a pep talk, like, get back in there,
Sure.
champ. It's actually how it works.
Yeah.
Understanding that, now you're like, okay, I can have some fun with this. I can plan on kind of going big on the weekends. It's a know thyself thing. Like, where are you? We have clients that travel all the time, so maybe that's not the approach, but it's a know thyself thing. And that is my biggest, one of my biggest passions with what we do, is we have this ability and this approach of fitting the system to you, not you fitting yourself to the system, because that's what breaks. That's what never works.
Right.
So the all or none thing is, not only does it not work mentally, it's also not necessary, and that's not what's going to be the thing that moves you forward.
Yeah, and I think that resonates with people, and actually just confirm that we are live on Facebook. I'm watching it on Facebook now. So for the folks that are watching and tuning in, if you have any questions, comments, or want to ask your specific questions, we'll respond and we can answer them live. Just an open invitation for anybody watching. But back to that topic of it being freeing, I think it sounds. Be honest, it sounds like the rah stuff, but having lived it, it's actually true. Like
Right.
you can have a really good week or a really good stretch of days, but on the weekends, when I'm off and my wife and I are like, oh, let's go out, we can go and have nachos, or we can go and have wherever, like with the kids, and because usually the kids like not good food. Um, and I think that is very freeing for people, which is what I've experienced, is that normally when you're on these diets, you're like, oh, like the whole foods diet or the keto diet or anything that's very, very restrictive. When you're in a social setting, it's like, oh, that sucks. Like, oh, I can't do this because that sucks, and that's when they crash, that's when they break, and then don't get progress. So
Right.
one of the things that I found in this process, working within your sort of framework, has been, while it is a framework, it's also very freeing to be able to account for the days when I'm ready to be regimented and ready to be on, versus when I know that there's going to be, I'm at a reception or a party or whatever. So I think that's absolutely freeing. I wonder if there are, on the opposite side of the spectrum, some people that what is your advice to the people that have difficulty just eating enough? I know that good friends of mine are the really, really, really skinny guys, tall, skinny guys that just struggle to pack on weight or anything like that. So I know that we get to some complex math calculations, but for the people that are, maybe not so much worried about breaking their caloric limit, what is the limit? Like, what is your ideal, like, minimum you have to do this in order to continue to press forward, if there is such a thing?
Yeah. So, we'll kind of hit the far side of things quickly with an answer, and then we'll get it more into the people that are underdoing something like protein, right? Which is one of the key macros, or underdoing fat. Those
Yeah.
are the two things, because most of our audience is trying to get lean, right? That being said, if it's somebody that's been chronically, really underweight their whole life, and they're really trying to fix it, the fix for that is a caloric surplus. Again, that means you're eating more calories than you're burning, right?
Hmm.
And again, that's also governed by the law of averages, right? So you can't be good 3 or 4 days, and this is why most people struggle with this whole thing. Is they're good for, let's say, the weekdays,
Hmm.
and then they're completely over on the off days. And it's a
Right.
matter, again, like those numbers balance out, you end up treading water. So if you're really trying to put on weight, then it's a matter of eating far more calories than you're consuming now, which can be really difficult for people. But that is the name of the game. When you have something like an offensive lineman, those guys are literally chased around by their nutrition people with food
Hmm.
every day. It doesn't matter if you're hungry or not, you have to eat, right? That's the
Yep.
bottom line. But for our audience, and the people that are struggling with fat loss and can't get enough protein, because that is a major issue. And I've been doing this for 26 years. Very few people that I've sat down with, you're not in this camp, but very few people that I've sat down with are underdoing protein,
Yeah.
right? And when you're underdoing protein, because it can be a challenge. Most people are, getting about half of what they need on a daily basis. People are like, I can't eat that much.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, if you're not hitting or exceeding what we call your daily protein minimum, fat loss isn't going to happen, right? Muscle is your body's metabolic engine, right? The
Yep.
the more muscle you have at any given point, the more calories you're burning sitting in a chair doing a podcast, right? So it's like you have to increase your muscle over time, and we have this villain that's constantly working against us in the background, which is sarcopenia, right? Sarcopenia is our body's natural loss of muscle tissue. That's why, for those listening, when you were 20 years older, you could eat whatever you wanted. Right.
Right.
Maybe when you were 30, oh my God, I could do whatever I want. All of a sudden, usually for most people, it's around this 40-year-old mark where it's like nothing works anymore. I can't
Yep.
figure it out. And the reason what's happening, it's nothing complicated. It's just you've lost muscle over the years.
Yeah.
Right. And so getting enough protein consistently as we go is an absolute mandate of progress. And
Yep.
the easiest way to do it, people ask all the time, is, do I need supplements? You don't need supplements for success, but supplements are built to make your life a lot more convenient.
Yep.
Right. And so a couple scoops of protein powder I have just about daily, because my target's about 140, 150 grams a day, which is a lot if I get that from Whole Foods, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of
You're
eating.
eating a lot of
Yeah.
ounces of chicken or turkey or fish.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially with fasting, and a lot of people that are kind of following along here are fasting, it can become really difficult. Whereas
Hmm.
a couple scoops of protein powder are not going to fill you up, just mixed with water. So not really going to do anything for your hunger levels, but you get
Yep.
40 grams of protein for only about 200 calories. So the bang for your buck there is enormous.
Yep.
So getting enough protein is one of the first things we work on with clients, hands down.
Yep. Yep. Excellent. Is there anything to add on types of protein? I know that might be a question for a lot of people. Is there a specific one that you prefer or advise against as it relates to either the powders or whole food protein?
Yeah, so whole food protein, no. Soy has been demonized in the media, as have so many nutritional things over the years. But even soy, Stanford did a study, comprehensive study a few years ago that said
Hmm.
even for men, there is no detriment to including soy in your
Yeah.
diet,
No
right?
increase in estrogen, as some of the
No,
pundits will say.
right, exactly. And so and everybody can go look that up. Stanford study on soy, right? They gave them the all clear, and it's a pretty respected institution. So I
Sure.
take them at their word.
Yep.
That being said, variety is key, right? Everything in the nutritional world, it's like a pendulum, man. Like
Hmm.
everything usually ends up somewhere back toward the middle. And so that line of thinking also kind of plays through. You should get a variety of foods in your
Yeah.
life. I know a lot of people are picky eaters. In that case, we do what we can do. But I don't have a lot of soy, but if we're getting sushi, I'll have edamame. That's soy.
Yeah.
I'll have
Soy.
tofu and miso soup and things like that. But when it comes to protein, the most important thing is you're getting a complete amino acid profile. That is the most important thing. We need that, right?
Okay.
You cannot get away with not having complete amino acid profiles. To simplify things, you think of a complete amino acid profile as like a chain linked fence,
Yep.
right? And when you have breaks in that fence, problems happen, right? Like whatever you're trying to keep outside of that fence or inside of that fence doesn't work out, right? In this case, muscle.
Sure.
So we need complete amino acid profile proteins. And so those are any type of animal product has a complete amino acid profile.
Hmm.
And then for my vegans, vegetarians, pescatarians, fish, animals, but fish has complete amino acids. And then for pure vegans, things like pea protein powder or peas themselves, legumes, beans, lentils, things like that, all complete amino acid profiles. Tofu, right? So all of those things can be included, and kind of fit the bill for what we need there.
Nice. Excellent. So protein is the most important. You also mentioned that fats are something that people should keep in mind. There's always misconceptions around fat, one because it has the word fat in it.
Right.
What's your 2 cents on fats, and where should people get the easiest, and what should they be looking out for?
Yeah, I think they could have done a better job on branding on
Yeah,
that
a little
word
bit. Fats
back
kind
in
of
the day.
sucks.
But it's
Yeah.
it's here it's here now to stay. So, so fat is super important for satiety, right? So filling you up. Fats are more than twice as calorically dense as are proteins and carbs, right?
Right.
And so fats help fill you up longer. And so we build most of our meals on fat, fiber, and protein. We can get into that today or on another episode. But
Hmm.
but more importantly, for hormonal balance, right? So when you go too low on fats in your diet on a consistent basis, it can throw off hormone production in a number of different ways. That's all you really need to know,
Yeah.
as far as that goes. But it is, Time Magazine, it was like 30 years ago, put out like low fat everything, like cut fat out of your diet, fat's the enemy. And then of course, 30 years later, fat is king. You gotta, and that was like not the advent of keto, but like when keto really started getting the buzz. Oh, I want to go really high fat on everything, and so on and so forth. But fats are really, really important when it comes to those two things, particularly for our purposes of fat loss, right? Is
Yeah.
satiety filling you up? Because we're going to be in a low calorie state for 99.9% of the people that are going to be listening in and joining us on this journey. The goal is fat loss. And
Yep.
with that necessarily brings a calorie deficit, which means you're burning more calories than you're consuming, right?
Yeah.
Which is the only way to lose fat. It's the only way.
Yep.
And so fat can help keep you fuller longer, which is a superpower when it comes to this process. And then of course we want to keep the body running smoothly. So hormones obviously play a major role there.
Yeah. Huge role. Actually, I didn't. Maybe I knew, but I didn't realize how big the impact on fat that has on hormones, on your body's regulation, which is super super interesting. So I'm gonna go make sure I eat an avocado after this.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Excellent. I don't know if you saw, we're trying this new system out, but we did get to see the comment from Matthew. So John is the man. I agree. I second it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we'll figure this thing out as we go. But yeah, let's keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Let's
So
cover a few more.
in addition to, we talked about the big two, fat and protein. Anything to say on fiber before we move off of nutrition, just for those that are interested? Like, for example, what is the best fiber for people that are like, what the hell is fiber, and which one should I eat?
Yeah, so fiber. Let's touch on fiber and carbs because that's the big question. And we'll get to
Right.
carbs last because we all love carbs, and we'll kind of get through how to include them, because you should include them for psychological reasons, right? But so fiber is, any vegetables, right? Any
Sure.
vegetables like spinach and broccoli, and then fruits like apples and things like that. Fruits like something like a banana that's high sugar wouldn't have as much fiber. But think of veggies, right? Almost any vegetable, aside from like potatoes, but like green veggies for sure. We want one serving of greens a day. I think we'll do a whole episode on just kind of key tenets and really dig into every single one of those. But that is one of the ones we work on with clients consistently, is one big serving of greens a day. And if you can't get that through whole food, again, this is where supplements make things more convenient.
Yep.
But fiber also fills you up. Fiber literally like expands in your body. So if you have a big green salad, say before your dinner, you're naturally going to eat less dinner, whatever the main is, because it's going to fill you up. And fiber, of course, is important for keeping your bowel movements consistent, because that can really wreak havoc if you're not getting enough fiber there. But again, for the purposes of being able to create calorie deficits easier, fiber helps keep you fuller longer as well.
Yep.
And then moving to carbs, carbs are the new enemy, right? Carbs are the latest
Right.
enemy, right? So,
Anti-enemy. Or
and
that's
I'm sure,
it.
yeah, right, anti-hero, right? So they'll be demonized, I'm sure, for time to come. Although there's probably a lot more truth, or there's certainly a lot more truth with carbs than with fats, because you need protein, right, for the metabolic rate and building muscle. Little thumbs up
Nice
there.
thumbs up. Yep.
Yeah, and you need fat for the reasons we discussed. You don't need carbs.
Sure.
There are, and anybody listening can look this up, there are athletes that have done ultra marathons on fat and proteins only.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks in the athlete world, like, you need carbs for performance. They can certainly enhance performance because they'll increase something called glycogen stores, which are like your body's first fuel source, right?
Yep.
But when it comes to fat loss and just general health, you don't need carbs. So when it's coming to when you're cutting calories, right? You have proteins, fats, and carbs to choose from. I don't want you cutting it from protein calories. We can't cut it from fat calories. You certainly don't need to go super high with fat.
Right.
But carbs are kind of the sacrificial,
Yep.
lamb here when it comes to where do we create this extra space. But and this is our main focus with this stuff is longevity and sustainability and enjoyment of the process. Carbs happen to be delicious, right? And
Right.
so, I mean, everybody loves carbs. Like, nobody that I want to hang out with doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't like carbs. People try to avoid carbs, all that stuff, and that's fine. I get that because of the misconceptions. So the way we solve that, which lends to one of the key habits, is we try to keep the majority of carbs to one meal a day, right? And so if you're fasting, you're having two meals, first meal or second meal, you can flip these, but we keep carbs out, and then one of those meals we can go ahead and include carbs.
Mhm.
And so what that does is, first, on the physiological side, is naturally going to help you create calorie deficits easier, right? That's going to speed your progress. So that's going to make progress possible. But second, and probably more important, is that it flips off this switch that is the number one killer of any fat loss attempt, which is deprivation, right? A
Right.
sense of deprivation, of wanting something you can't have, or you're saving for a cheat day, which I despise. You can plan on when you want to have your carbs. Right? Carbs
Sure.
are comforting. Carbs are enjoyable. I love fries. We love pasta, like the whole thing. But keeping them to one meal a day hits the need of helping you create a bigger calorie deficit, but also let your mind be at ease, right?
Right.
And then kind of that guiding line is, the habit of being able to think ahead around nutrition puts you in the proactive seat with this thing, rather than constantly being reactive to food, which is what we've become over the years, right?
Yep.
And so the ability to be proactive and to think ahead and kind of get in the driver's seat, and you get to be in control rather than food always controlling you, is again that psychological switch that will shine a completely new light on this process and the
Yep.
possibility and the understanding that you now know, oh man, I can do this. I can maintain this. I'm enjoying this.
Right.
So with our coaching clients, Fridays we always do a big weekend look ahead. Always, we do it on a daily basis, but really on the weekends, because that's when a lot of people break and fall apart. And so what I have clients do, and what all successful clients do, is they have a game plan ahead of time. Like,
Exactly.
we know what our weekends look like, right? Like I know we got a thing tomorrow for a friend's birthday, and then I know how our weekends flow.
Sure.
So I always tell use this kind of line of thinking, in that the first conversation I have with my wife, Vanessa, every single morning is, what are we doing for dinner tonight? And people think I'm joking when I say it, but and it sounds
The
funny.
same. It's the
Yeah.
same at ours. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
what are we doing for dinner? It's like 9 a.m. Like we got
Yeah.
a plan.
Yeah. But it's true. And because, we're busy dudes, like it's go, go, go during the day. It's not like, hey, let's kick back and have a pasta and open a bottle of wine at lunch. But at night, we might want to do that.
Yep.
And so that power of thinking ahead, again, puts you in the driver's seat and then allows us to design the day out in front. And it gives you something to look forward to, whether that's
Yeah.
on a daily basis or on the weekend or on a trip or whatever it is. And when you do that, again, it makes the process far more enjoyable, and it kind of puts the focus where it needs to be. You can set your days up knowing what's coming ahead of time, which is just, it's a completely new way of looking at things for most people.
Yeah, and it works. And last night, that's exactly what we did here, because it's Thursdays towards the end of the week, longer days, longer stretches. The kids are sick, so we're like, okay, we need a release. We need some comfort food.
Yeah.
So or during the earlier part of the day, we're like, all right, there's a place called Hot Dog Shop. That's what our original plan was. And when we decided that, I hadn't broken my fast yet, but I was like, okay, that makes me, or I understand how I'm gonna figure out the day now. Now
Right.
that I know that I'm looking forward to Hot Dog Shop, which is awesome. I love a good chili dog. Um, I knew that I usually break my fast with a super nutrient dense smoothie with like a bunch of handfuls of spinach and lots of protein powder. And I actually had started adding in cottage cheese into it, which sounds probably terrible for everybody on the call. I'm also a monster when it comes to what kind of food I eat, as long as it satisfies the nutritional requirements. I don't really care, but it actually doesn't taste that bad. But because we were thinking ahead, I was able to stack rank. I was like, hot dogs aren't that nutrient dense, so I need to pack in the protein at the beginning part of the day, so that at the end of the day, it's really just eating for fun, and then we got to look forward to it. So it worked out. It worked out well with that sort of principle in
Yeah.
mind.
That is the name of the game, man. And hot
Yep.
dogs, they get some protein in there, so it's good. You
Yeah.
got something,
Yeah. Something. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of other stuff in there too, but for now we'll just hope that it's only protein.
Yeah, good, man. Well, so why don't we wrap? Do you have any other, personally, for your current journey, any other questions or things that are still tough, whether that's on the training side of things, the structure side of things, or questions on speed or anything like that?
No, I think from my perspective, I think this is a whole other episode, but the importance, just really quickly, maybe we'll tee it up, but the importance of strength training. And
Mm,
for me, as somebody that's been in the gym a lot, or for anybody else that's gone through high school, college athletics, been on teams before, no stranger to the gym, no stranger to working out. But how do we take it, and what is the simplest quick wins that people can do in order to really unlock their workout as they're going through their exercises?
yeah, totally. So we'll definitely do probably many episodes on this, because what I've learned now, with working through, we're with so many people over the last few years, especially with the explosion of online, is nutrition. We can actually get you set up with a good nutritional flow, I think, faster than we can optimize your strength training.
Right.
So for a lot of people, a huge part of the population either are doing zero strength training,
Hmm.
or they're doing like a class or like Pilates, and listen, I'm not knocking those things at all. Any movement is better than zero movement.
Right.
And I'm not saying you can't do Pilates or you can't do classes. You certainly do those, especially for the community aspect and if you enjoy them. But true strength training is an absolute must for permanent progress, right? For current progress and permanent progress. And we talked about the importance of protein on sustaining muscle mass and muscle tissue. I shouldn't use the word mass because people have misconception on that, but muscle tissue. Protein is mandatory for that, but it's a 1-2 punch with strength training.
Right.
And again, if you're not strength training and getting enough protein, you are 100% losing muscle day over day, week over week, month over month, year over year. And with that goes your metabolic rate. And again, that's
Yeah.
why it was easier in your 20s, easier in your 30s, easier in your 40s. And now maybe you're doing everything else right, but the scale's not moving. And so, you need to be strength training. And I think the misconception around strength training is, the requirements. I think a lot of people think you have to go to a gym, You have to train for hours at a time. You got to be lifting crazy weight. You're probably going to get injured. Like you have low back issues, knee issues, shoulder issues. So you're not going to do it. Right. And
Yeah.
that's the thinking that I think most people have. And none of that's true.
Sure.
None of that's true. I literally, before we got on this, I had this particular client who is just he's so apprehensive. He's had bad experiences in the past. He's had injuries, and he keeps pushing it off, pushing it off. He said, "Listen, today, here's your challenge. This will be a successful week if you do this today. I want you to do 20 air squats. That's your whole
Yeah.
workout, and you
Yeah.
can break this up across the whole day.
Yeah.
Right? Do 2 at a time if you want, whatever it takes." Which is and it sounds really silly. It's like, but that is how you start. And so that's I think the biggest thing that most people miss is nothing we do and nothing you should do is all or none, right? But it's so important. Like, we have our big 5. We have water, steps, strength, protein, calories, right? People ask about all these other things and vitamins and high level stuff. It's like, if you don't have these 5 things in line, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters, right?
Hmm.
When it comes to progress with fat loss. So the most important thing with strength training is that you just get started in a safe way,
Right.
and you continue to progress from there. And I think eliminating that fear, getting that out of the way and out of your mind, is the biggest gift you can give yourself for this, for the chasing of progress. And then from there, once you get started, without trying to be perfect, then you can dial in more detail and more detail. I've been training for 26 years, not only myself, but with clients, and I learn something new every week. Right.
Right.
And so there are always levels, but just getting started is the biggest, most important thing you could possibly do for yourself. But super important to understand that you need to get strength training. Like that's bottom
Yes.
line. No
Yeah.
compromise. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I think that's a good spot for those that are listening, or perhaps it's the first time they're interacting with you, or they've been thinking about it for a while. The first step is often the hardest, but
Yeah.
just getting started, strength training, 20 air squats, 10 push-ups, whatever that number is, that's the pathway to making the permanent change. No, I
Absolutely.
think that's great, and I think we can go into tons of detail and all the stuff that I've learned, even from you, and on form technique and all that stuff, in future episodes. But as we're sort of winding down here, any other nuggets of wisdom for the folks that are just getting started, and perhaps tomorrow morning, Saturday, what's the first thing that they should be thinking about, or doing, or any other parting words?
Yeah. So I think weekends are typically where most people fall off. People during the weeks are trying to be good, right? Like
Right.
if you're listening to this, chances are you are trying to make changes here, right? Um, but the weekends, the all or none thing, I think we talked about in the earlier part of the episode, all or none just doesn't work. So keep in mind that the body doesn't care what day of the week it is. Days of the week are man-made. Like it
Right.
doesn't know that.
Doesn't matter.
So pick your spots. Think ahead. Like if you want to say tomorrow's a pasta dinner, cool, or pizza or whatever you guys are doing this weekend, absolutely enjoy it. But think ahead. Don't start with your French toast for breakfast and then go to fettuccine alfredo for lunch and then finish the day with pizza. Like you can set
That's
yourself so far back,
right.
with
Just
a day like that.
yeah.
And this is why I despise the idea of cheat days, because it will physically set you back, and mentally it just throws you in the same loop
Yep.
of like, okay, I'll restart on Monday. So pick your spots, have fun, chat it through with your partner or with your friends or with yourself, like whatever it is. Pick your spots and get out in the morning, get a little walk in. If you can, if it's not freezing where you are right now, is it still crazy cold where you are?
It was like 26 degrees in the morning, and
Oh,
now it's probably 70 outside. I don't know.
wow.
It's summer or it's spring in the Midwest, so you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, that is quite a swing. But just being mindful on the weekends, I think, is key. Don't worry about being perfect. We'll get into kind of higher level details as we go. And the last thing I would say is we welcome all feedback here. We're going to do more kind of a bit more structure as we go. Nate and I just wanted to kind of get this thing moving, get some feedback from you guys. So let us know what you want to hear about, what you want to learn about. We'll dig into, because we're always gonna run video on these as well, so we can get into whole form episodes and things like that. And the last thing I'll say is make sure you go get the free intermittent fasting guide at johnschaferhealth.com. We will drop the URL here. And if you're on our email list, you'll be added to that. So you'll be up to speed with everything we're doing. And as always, if I can help you with anything, if you need some one-on-one coaching, that is what we do.
Excellent. John, it's been a pleasure, man. Look forward to more.
Lots more. Okay, man. See you soon.
See you.